What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and this discussion will be about democracy and why I am not a fan, and the following will be me laying out exactly why that is. To really dig into the issue here, we have to discuss what rights are. A right can be thought of as a justification in claiming something one is naturally entitled. For starters, you have a right to your own body because you own it. And because you own it, no one else can justly lay claim to it. This idea is at the heart of the concept of individual liberty. It can be logically deduced from this point that if you and only you do in fact own your body, then you and only you are the ultimate arbiter of making decisions for it. From the labor you utilize, to the speech you utter, to the thoughts in your mind, to what you choose to put into it, to the means of defending it from assault or imposition, the freedom and responsibility of your actions belong to you and you alone. Keep in mind that in order to be consistent, this not only must apply to you, but it must apply to everyone else as well. This means that while you have a right to yourself, you do not have a right to someone else. From this we can deduce another concept. No person can justly claim the right to impose on another. Such an imposition would be in violation of another individual's rights. This is why the concept of property rights is so important and key to libertarian philosophy. This is the basis of the non-aggression principle. You have a right to live however you see fit until you directly impose on another person. The popular analogy being that your right to swing your fist ends at your neighbor's nose. So based on this, we see that rights must begin and end with the individual. As Ayn Rand once said, the smallest minority in society is the individual. And if rights begin with the individual, no group of people can be justified in infringing on these rights. If these rights are subject to the whims of the majority of any given society, then they cannot be rights. And if these rights aren't rights for some people, then they cannot be rights for anyone. So what does this mean about democracy? Democracy is mob rule authoritarianism. A majority of your fellow citizens or neighbors dictating what rights you have, if any, and under what circumstances, if any, you're allowed to exercise those rights. This is in direct violation to the concept of non-aggression. If you care about consistency and logic, you have to see the glaring contradiction of the power center of society, the state, having some exclusive privilege to violate this principle. If a group of 4 men abduct a woman and rape her in an alley, I don't care that they won the popular vote. Rape is a violation of her property right to her own decisions regarding her own body. Consent is the determining factor. In the same way, if 2 of your friends vote that they get to take half the contents of your wallet, it doesn't matter that they outvoted you. Theft is theft. If you don't consent to give them money, then it's morally wrong for them to take it. They have no justification to the contents of your wallet without your consent. To maintain consistency, this same concept applies to a group of people in fancy suits standing behind a government banner. So basically, if you value individual liberty and personal freedom to anywhere near the extent that I do, democracy is not only a bad idea, it is the near complete antithesis of your value system. This is why I feel libertarianism offers the most logically consistent philosophy regarding property rights. Propaganda to promote democracy is very pervasive. We hear it all the time. Democracy is talked about almost as if it's divine. In reality, we've been conditioned to believe that 535 people, ironically an extreme minority in our society, have the right to decide what rights we have, how, when, and if we can exercise them. 535 people in a nation of 320 million. Oh, but they're elected by the people, right? Except almost no one votes for these people. Only a minority of Americans vote for president, and even less vote for congressman. So a minority of people who are looking to the state for solutions to state-created problems decide who will control things like how much of your own money you get to keep. In this last election, people keep talking about the will of the people, and Joe Biden receiving something like 80 to 81 million votes. Sure, it was more than Trump, but it's still a minority of the population. Most Americans didn't vote for Trump or Biden. Yet they'll be ruled over and impositioned by the Biden-Harris administration until their term is up and another master is installed. Democracy is 51% lording over the 49%. That isn't freedom. It's tyranny of the majority. In a free society, the only voting you would get to do is in the decisions you make with your own life and resources. If you don't like a service one provider provides, then you vote them out with your dollars. If you do like a service another provider provides, you vote them in with your dollars. Under statism, democracy is just another factor in an ever-increasing tense struggle for power. The political fighting can be explained best with the following analogy. The government is the gun in the room that everyone is fighting over. And when one group gets to the gun first, the other group panics and gets worried. This is because the power of the gun is the power of coercion. The state is a coercive monopoly, as I've discussed many times before in past videos. Without the state, without the gun being pointed at us, we can pursue a more peaceful means of voluntary cooperation. This can never be achieved so long as this coercive monopoly on violence exists, and democracy is nothing more than a way to impose authoritarianism while conning people into believing that they are somehow less infringed upon because the oppression gets the blessing of their neighbors. And I'll end all this with a quote from Benjamin Franklin that I think is absolutely wonderful. Democracy is two wolves and a lamb deciding what's for dinner. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Short and sweet. And I do have a couple of announcements to make before I end here. I know some people like to support the content, and if anyone does, I've added links to the description. I have a paypal.me account set up in the description. paypal.me/autopsyrants. Rants with a Z and autopsy with a 0 instead of an O for anyone who wants to tip there in fiat. I've added a link to my wallets if anyone wants to send some Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash my way. I do prefer Bitcoin Cash, but whatever works. I've also added a lot of my content in audio form to audiomac.com. I plan on adding a lot of my new content there as well, because I would love to get off of YouTube eventually. But there is a link for the AudioMac channel in the description. It's audiomac.com/autopsy with a 0. And that's it. Thanks a lot, guys.